These are 7 pro gamblers who actually beat the casinos for millions of dollars. Their secretive strategies are fascinating to understand because nearly all of them were stone broke before they started. From roulette wheels to blackjack tables, they all did something unique to beat the casinos at their own game. Starting with a humble musician that made more than $1 million playing roulette. Because this Spanish gambler transformed roulette and had the casino scratching their head when he repeatedly beat the wheel at the Casino Gran Madrid, because Gonzalo Garcia Pelayo discovered a fixed advantage relative to individual roulette wheels. You see, roulette wheels inside a casino are not perfectly balanced. Over time, the wear and tear of a wheel, where it's placed and the table it's on can all lead to marginal biases. These biases were then causing certain numbers to come up more frequently than others. Now, Pelayo's strategy involved recording thousands and thousands of roulette spins to identify the biases in the wheel. Then he and his family would visit the casino and only bet the most biased wheels. Eventually, the casino threw him out for winning, which led to a frustrating game of cat and mouse as they couldn't work out exactly what he was doing. It was only after the casino started replacing their roulette wheels that they understood what was going on. After travelling around the world's casinos, he banked around 1.5 million. Not bad considering that was back in the early 90s. Now, casinos take extra care in balancing, moving and replacing roulette wheels to avoid it happening in the modern era. But Gonzalo wasn't the only one to use science to beat roulette in the casino. These guys were a lot smarter with their strategy. As training physicists, they approached roulette with scientific precision. They figured that if you could measure the speed of the wheel's rotations and the ball's trajectory, then you could make a calculated decision as to where the ball would likely land. To do this, they developed a wearable computer that could be concealed under their clothing. They'd signal where the ball was and the speed the wheel was moving at by tapping the computer's input mechanism so that before the ball landed, it would give them an area of the wheel to bet on. Their method wasn't perfect, but it gave them a significant advantage over roulette at the time. But as usual, the casino responded by changing the game, forcing players to bet before the roulette wheel is spun up and the ball is dropped. It's an inspirational story, but there's not that much to use for gamblers today. Unlike the next on our list, who exploited casino greed for 15 million in an extremely short space of time. He first made headlines for his incredible $15 million winning streak in Atlantic City. Don Johnson used a major economic downturn and casino greed to negotiate additional terms with the casinos as a high-staking player. Now, desperate for his custom as a high-rolling loser, 3 of the biggest casinos agreed. Based on his previous play, they didn't perceive him to be a threat. They also gave him generous rebates and free bets. Think match betting on a massive scale. Now, Johnson's strategy focused on these rules and playing a flawless game. Between 2010 and 2011, he took more than 4 million from Caesars, 5.8 million from the Tropicana, and a further 5 million from the Borgata, spread over 2 different nights. It's estimated that the house still had a 0.263% advantage, although it was so small and over such a short sample, he was able to come out on top. Don also used a mixture of tactics to distract the dealers, such as having female adult actresses accompany him at the table. A crazy story, and some find it hard to believe, although not as difficult as this next high stakes gambler. Mickey Mace has been all over the internet in recent years. Many have queried just how legitimate his winnings are, although in fairness, several casinos have banned him and various independent sources have confirmed his winnings. He's won more than $11 million in a single session.
My biggest win in one session was $11,526,000.
And it's not the only time he's won big either. Baccarat and poker are his speciality, although his exact strategy is mysterious, and perhaps for good reason. The details to these things often come out further down the line after all. It would seem like he uses a combination of card counting, stake management and psychology. There has to be some strategy. It can't just be sheer nerve and aggressive play to beat the casinos by that much and so many times. Given his appearance, people always jump to conclusions and assume the worst or get jealous, but he's obviously quite intelligent underneath that facade. What do you think? Our next gambler found an extreme but unique way to beat the house. The best part? They did it without ever sitting at a table. Card counting is old news for many players, but this guy took things one step further, quite literally. because Darryl Purpose was a member of the Ken Houston blackjack team who, early on, developed a pair of card counting shoes. The shoes were specifically designed to keep the running count. For those who might not understand that, it means that he could actively track the probability of future play by tapping a miniature toe switch inside his shoe while sat at the casino's table. They would then signal back to him via a small buzzer on his instep. Although some might question the legitimacy of using a computer, it was a seriously innovative approach. The shoes helped him win consistently at hundreds of casinos across 6 different continents. However, unlike many others, he wasn't greedy. He made millions from the casinos, but he eventually stopped using the shoes and took up a career in music. Next, a big name that rocked the gambling world when they took $19.6 million from several casinos in the UK and US. It even ended up in court. Phil Ivey is one of the greatest poker players of all time, but instead of beating other players, he hit 2 high-end casinos for big money in 2012. He did it playing baccarat. His strategy was developed behind closed doors with an accomplice, where they built on a previous advantage play strategy known as edge sorting, where they used favourable terms from the casinos that were already being offered to him. Although a lot more savvy, there's parallels to Don Johnson's story here. Being a high roller that could win or lose millions in a night, the casinos allowed him to make 4 special requests. These requests were designed by Ivey and his accomplice to help his edge sorting strategy, and the casinos didn't notice. Edge sorting involves identifying subtle differences on the pattern of a back of playing cards. So Ivey asked that the casino's dealer rotate the cards in a certain way, use a specific shuffling machine, and use a specific deck of Gemco cards. The result? They were able to win over $19.6 million from the casino. But despite the success, the casino took legal action and Ivey's winnings were eventually confiscated. It was a highly controversial outcome because Ivey wasn't actually cheating, he was just playing an advantage under the terms that the casinos had pre-agreed, and he still could have lost. And finally, the biggest player of all on our list. Over time, he's developed successful betting strategies for multiple mediums. Known as the Joker on his official casino file, his first taste of success was through counting cards, although he quickly moved on to other games. In particular, the Keno lotteries run in Australian casinos and tab betting pubs. In one year, they reportedly bet more than $64 million in cash at one pub. He and his friends would routinely target Keno games where the overall betting pool's reward exceeded the chance of playing those lesser bought combinations. He found out that by buying combinations that everybody else left, it was possible to ensure a bumper payout when they did come in. The only obstacle was buying various combinations on a massive scale. This logic was then later applied to other betting pools and sports betting. It's now believed that he employs a team of more than 300 experts to help him analyse betting data across the casinos, betting pools and exchanges around the globe. His net worth isn't public, although given his known betting turnover, material possessions and extravagant lifestyle, Ranjoik is certainly amongst the very top of the world's gambling elite, although he's not likely to be the only betting billionaire, as you can see from the people and strategies shared in this next video. Please go and check it out.